A property crash is months away. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I'm working through my morning coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article that's just appeared on news.com.au. It's discussing the impending property crash, or the argument that once the mortgage holidays end, the property market is going to get a dose of reality. Now, I've been discussing this in several videos for some time, that I think that is what we need to watch out for when all of these handouts disappear, when the banks, being our friends and nice to us, goes away. But then another thing is starting to appear. Like we looked at mortgage news yesterday where they were talking about CBA was talking about extending interest-only periods from 5 years to 12 years, where APRA are changing the rules and making, doing whatever they can. So here we have people concerned with this reckoning, with, once all these things disappear, that the market's going to be adjusted. We had the same concerns raised with all interest-only loans getting refinanced or, switching to principal, and then people will be under more mortgage stress. But everyone in the game seems to be doing everything they can to stop that. Who would have thought? Who would have thought the banks would have been giving this many mortgage holidays to people? Could anyone have predicted that? What will happen to Australian properties if, I don't know, they just start giving everyone $100,000? What do you think will happen then, guys? See, here's the thing. You want the market to be able to have the freedom to move, so you get some creative destruction in an economy. I know it sounds harsh, but you need to grow resilience. You don't become resilient and strong unless you have adversity. That's just a part of life. If you haven't been through tough times, well, you're probably a weird person, to be honest. Not much fun to be around. Or maybe you're a professional property spruiker. So let's have a look at this article, guys. Aussies have deferred billions in loans since the pandemic crisis began. Now a deadline could lead to a cliff edge for the property market. And later today we will look at a piece from realestate.com.au, which is pretty much saying that property is going to bounce back in spring. We'll look at that one later, guys. I recorded that before this. So it's a good contrast. House prices in Australia are set to tumble as regulators warn the end of the pandemic mortgage honeymoon is likely to trigger forced sales. Well, we've got rental demand disappearing, decreasing, international students disappearing. We've got Airbnbs flooding the market for long-term rentals. You've got people getting extended interest-only loans. You've got people getting mortgage holidays. How would you get a mortgage holiday on an interest-only loan? Just think about that, guys. How bad would that be? First home buyers, investors and businesses have now deferred $250 billion in loans after they were laid off, lost shifts or forced to close their doors because of the pandemic. But a reckoning is looming for thousands of families when the current arrangements expire in September. So we'll look at another video where there are calls to extend JobKeeper. See, here's the thing. This is all, the argument here makes perfect sense, but you've got to remember, what if they do some other insane bloody thing to keep it propped up? What if they start paying people to immigrate over here to Australia? Oh, we need more people in property. Yes. What about the $50,000 handouts that the Property Council were pushing for? It's everything's on the table now, guys. Everything's on the table, which is kind of even more concerning. Prudential Regulation Authority Chairman Wayne Byers told a Senate committee into the pandemic on Thursday that some customers will be unable to repay their loans. We often talk of the cliff, which is when everything ends in 6 months' time, he said. No one has an interest in going off the cliff, so we have to work out what the next phase is going to be, and that will be dependent on the economic situation at the time. So, they'll just intervene in the market, guys. Will we see a sharp property decline, or will they do everything they can? And you've got to remember, guys, any intervention in the market is experienced by all of us. So you've got the property owners, and myself included, who will reap the benefits of these intervention into the market, but then everyone will incur the cost, either through future taxation or through the implementation of magic money theory, where it comes out of fairy dust and then taxes to regulate the economy. It's all just, keeping us plebs in line one way or another, isn't it? Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane could face the biggest falls in value. Well, I somehow think Sydney, we'll have a look, guys. We'll bring up property prices. You can see there how they've climbed up. Look at Melbourne, how much it's gone up. Then Sydney, Brisbane as well. Yeah, I'm hoping Brisbane will be somewhat shielded from the impacts as people sell out from Sydney and Melbourne to come up here to the better weather and cheaper property. But then again, Deloitte Access Economics Chris Richardson said the impact of forced sales on house prices may not be as great as the freeze on immigration. It's a $7 trillion market, so $250 billion is important, but it's not make or break, he said. True, but you've got to remember it's always the edge cases that affect the price. I've got a friend who's invested in development and he's looking at getting one of the properties. And the developer says, sure, but if you sell it straight, you can't sell it until all the other ones have sold. The developer wants to make sure that prices are at a certain level because it's the edge case, it's the last sale, the last price in the complex, which affects all the valuation of everyone else. So, $250 billion selling could start shifting the market down. So population is smaller than expected by the better part of 300,000 people. It has quite an impact on demand trends. You want to be expecting those people would have occupied 80,000 homes. However, he predicted the fall in house prices may not be as high as some economists have predicted. I would expect Australian average prices to fall by less than 10%, he said. Melbourne University economist Dr. James Bergler took a gloomier view in some metropolitan cities, particularly Perth, where he is forecasting a 20% drop in house prices. Most households have only a small amount of borrowings against their home and are generally in good position to withstand a fall in home values, he said. But what about all the investors? What about the geniuses that have 6 properties, guys? All interest only. However, households that have borrowed more money will feel the impact on their home equity. In Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, we calculate that a quarter of households will see a fall in equity of 10% or more. In Adelaide, the figures are less severe, but for Perth, 1/4 of households face a reduction in home equity of 20% or more. This is because the Perth property market is more exposed to movements in stock prices, and average household debt levels are higher relative to home values. However, investment properties, including units, might fall more as people dropped out of the market. Desperate workers are also raiding into their super accounts as the pandemic slashes casual workers' hours and employment. The Morrison government extended early access rights to retirement savings for people experiencing financial hardship as a result of the pandemic. Eligible claimants can withdraw $10,000 before June 30 and a further $10,000 after July 1. Labor Senator Kathy Gallagher said on Thursday it was clear some workers have been forced to destroy their nest egg. Well, they've been forced to create their nest egg. Maybe some workers just want to get access to their own bloody money. It's their money. It's not yours, it's theirs. They have a right to it. But I know Labor doesn't. You don't want individuals to have control. No. You want to parent them. That's fundamentally it. Over 117,000 accounts have been basically drawn down to zero, she said. Well, okay, then it wasn't a nest egg. If you had $117,000 with less than $10,000 in it, it was completely useless. It would probably be better and smarter for those people to take that money out and to pay down debt or to save it for a deposit than to have it sitting there doing nothing. I mean, come on. These people are annoying me, guys. And they're our leaders that we elect to represent us. I mean, come on. Seriously. When we're looking at the retirement incomes of people, if people are drawing their accounts down to zero, that's going to make it a very long, hard recovery back for their retirement incomes. And it's a point we made when we think early access super shouldn't have been the point where government went to first. Senator Gallagher said she was concerned by the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe's warning that it would be a mistake to end JobKeeper permanently. Oh, well, yes, we're going to, or prematurely. We're going to, just wait, it will be permanent one time. We'll look at that in another video, guys. We want the government to be proactive about making sure we don't fall off a fiscal cliff in September, she said. This means people are given notice, so there's confidence in the economy, and the Reserve Bank governor spoke about that today, saying confidence was part of the economic recovery. Now, clearly that confidence isn't going to be there if everyone thinks everything's going to be cut off at September. And here's our consumer confidence at the moment. It's in the gutter. So what is this saying? This seems to be like they're paving the way to continue interventions in the market. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're all interventionists, every single one of them. Both sides of politics now. It's been proven. There's very little divide between the two parties, guys. You know, very little divide. Do you want your market intervention with, you know, what flavor of social justice do you want your market intervention? You know, pick left or right. That's pretty much it. And it's both more left, light, or left, or green, left. There's your pick. There's your 3 picks, guys. This means people are, okay. Whether they're prepared to taper, whether they're prepared to target, we're not having a budget until October. We're saying you need to be clear about that. You need to be upfront. You need to be considering it. Well, there you go, guys. Property potentially falling off a cliff in September. But they're going to pull every bloody trick out of the bag to avoid it. What do you reckon? What do you think will happen, guys? Do you think this will actually materialize? Do you think the mortgage honeymoon will disappear, or there will be more interventions, more government policies, more Reserve Bank tinkering to make it go? Maybe there'll be homekeeper payments. What I would like people to do is have the capacity to write off the interest on their primary residence. Pay for your home before you pay the state. What do you think about that idea? As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you'd like to support the channel, there are a few ways you can. You can join us here on YouTube. You can support us via Patreon. You can use the affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, support us via buying our merch, or finally PayPal. Take care, guys, and I will see you in the next video.